Hello, 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 everybody, and welcome back to the Golden Feather Tavern. I am Chibi. I will be your hostess today, and we are going to be talking about the Alpha 2 Phase 3 testing schedule changes. Today is Earth Day, April 22nd, 2025, and yes, you did, Sinflow. Perfect timing. I love the little dance emote. That's cute. First off, how has everybody been? I apologize for missing out on Saturday, as I had previously agreed to help a friend, and I didn't realize that was going to be an all-day event. I know that now. But Vertec was gracious enough to take over the tavern and have Lloyd on with us and have a really nice conversation. I got to listen to it. Unfortunately, because I was driving, I could not interact except for towards the end. But it sounded like a very interesting conversation. Hello, Erwin. Hello, Sinflow. Hello, Basil. Hello, Esteban. And hello to Vale, Miss Warden, who was our first to interact. Welcome in, everybody. Ludo, damn, TV, why'd you shave off? Oh, yeah, dang it. I knew I was missing something. Yeah, it just got too itchy for me. I don't know what to say. The beard, it's just, I'm not much of a beard person. Yeah, so this is usually dual streamed, and all of our past broadcasts are on YouTube since Twitch likes to get rid of like 2 weeks worth of stuff. It's just all over on YouTube. I can try and find you the link. Give me just a second. But how's everybody's week going? I know that the servers are down. I bet you are missing it already. Good afternoon, Facade. Welcome in. Just listening while I'm at work? All right. Welcome in. Thanks for the lurk. I appreciate that. I often listen to other people's videos while I work as well, so it's nice to be lurked while worked. Is that a good way of saying it? So sad I missed the convo with Lloyd. Yes. Well, he's not Lloyd, apparently. He was Chibi. Chibi Lloyd? Apparently he had the options between Chibi Lloyd and Lude Bree, which I'm grateful they did not go with the second. Let me grab that shareable link. Here you go. Update in an hour, so hype times. And refresh servers hype as well. Yes. Here is the link for you, Sinflow. Feel free to check that out at your convenience. No rush. But first off, if you have not heard yet, because I was away with Vertec when this popped up on... Yes, it would have. I was away when this popped up on my feed, but as of the 18th of this month, Alpha 2 is actually pushing Phase 3 back from Intrepid into August, and instead they are going to extend Phase 2. And I want to get into it because I haven't actually delved into all of this yet, but before I do, I just wanted to say, if you guys haven't already checked out our Discord, I'm actually going to be reading some of the conversations that were happening in the Discord. But this is our Discord. Okay, hold on. Maybe wrong area. Discord. There we go. This is our Discord if you wish to join us. But there's some conversation about, what about the people that bought Phase 3 keys? What about the people that were looking forward to Phase 3 in May and things like that? And literally, you actually brought up a really good point within the Discord, is that like a lot of the people, not only was Phase 3 kind of more advertised as a more polished and completed game, but additionally, a lot of people that bought those Phase 3 keys were looking for more of a feature completed state. And I think that they need... Yes, what about the people who wanted Pyrite for their birthday? I think we're going to get into that in just a moment. I will be swapping scenes so that you have a little bit larger of a screen. Let me just turn down Spotify for myself. Hello, Senpai. Welcome in. But I do agree. I feel like a lot of people that bought the Phase 3 keys were looking for more of a feature completed state of the game. And Steven himself had mentioned that, phase 3 is more of the gameplay loop of entertainment and enjoying the game, whereas phase 2, the focus is not so much on sustaining long playership or player times or things like that. It's more about focus testing, which today they are doing on the PTR servers, the testing for more caravans out into the tropic and lawless zones, as well as dealing with the spacing. So whether it is at a freehold in an inventory box, or whether it is in the node at the storage vendor and then accessing said storage from, say, your crafting table and things like that. And yes, Sinflow says that they are gonna still be releasing some of the big things in Extend Phase 2. So possibly. And I'm wanting to bring up the page where we're going to go over everything. This is going to be my official first time actually seeing this. I'm not intending on doing reactionary content, more so as just my thought processes and hearing your thoughts. Eric says nothing for crafters to do for 3 more months. Not worth leaving crafts for a 90-day server. Fair. I've only heard bits about it, so I'm learning with you. Exactly. So some of us, we haven't had a time to get into that. In my opinion, P3 delay was in name only. Didn't see a single feature delayed with the P3 delay announcement. Okay, that's good to know. And I think that maybe it's in name, but also it might be with like the expectations, right? So Steven did say phase 3 was a bit more enjoyability focused, right? How keeping players interested in testing, keeping players wanting to play versus strictly just testing. And I think that's why they're saying like phase 3 is being pushed back, because it won't be in that state yet. And I'm thinking that based off of what you're saying and my understanding, that is what they're getting at. Lulu says it's more about we haven't done everything that was meant for phase 1 to 2, so P3 can't come out now. Sitsuma says people delay and it's a shock, but if you read the article, you'll see exactly what it was. Yeah, and so we're about to get into that. So let me just go ahead and swap over to this view. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and bring this up. So I already have this prepped, and I do know that there is also some changes that they're wanting to make with the game, right? So Unreal Engine, I saw mention of some updates to Unreal Engine, and we haven't gotten to 6 or anything yet, but they did change to 5 only a few years back. So there's always that constant thing of, will they need to update because Unreal Engine is updating? Is Unreal Engine updating important enough for them to update too? Like, does it actually have good things for them to look at and to integrate? Or is this just like one of those things that they could do without? And from what I read already, looking through the 5.5 updates, it looks like a lot of optimizations for Unreal Engine that are coming through, especially with the ray tracing and things like that, which I believe Intrepid is utilizing, as you can see here in this video. So let me just go ahead and grab this. There we go. Phase 3 feels like their last big wave of people before beta, so it's a good idea to wait until it's more feature complete for those who are going to dip their toes with high expectations. Very good point, Sinflow. Very good point. I'm trying to temper the concern without spoiling the announcement itself. That's all good. So Phase 2, Alpha 2 Phase 3 testing schedule. This, again, was posted on the 18th. It says, greetings, glorious adventurers. As we continue pushing forward in development of Ashes of Creations, we'd like to provide an update on our Alpha 2 testing schedule, including details on the extension of Phase 2 with the merging of Vira and Lineth, which I did not know that they were going to be merging those 2 servers, so that's good to know. And the upcoming launch of Phase 3. Your feedback, bug reports, and continued participation has been instrumental in helping us shape the world of Vera, and we're incredibly grateful for your support. So let's talk about Phase 2 extensions, and that's going to go until August 4th. So they've made the decision to extend Alpha 2, Phase 2, throughout up to August 4th. The extension allows the team to make meaningful progress on several key initiatives for the launch of Alpha 2 Phase 3, including implementing and testing dynamic gridding, which is critical for improving gameplay, performance, and densely populated areas, aka optimization, right? So can someone explain to me the flying mounts in this game? Like, I'm 5. Thank you. Okay, yeah. So what Esteban, Senpai says, no, that's what Senpai said. Esteban said, I feel like 24/7 or near was a material part for faith. Yes, that is also a part of that. And yes, all mayors can fly at the moment. However, as Esteban also says, it is only for Metropolis mayors and castle owners. So kings or queens of guild castles will be able to fly up to 5 of those people. In Metropolis will be able to fly, up to 5 of those people. Pardon me. So yeah, that is, let me just hide this. There we go. That is how the flying works. Outside of that, you can get temporary flying. So if there's a boss, let's say Firebrand, right? Firebrand drops this rare, extremely rare egg, and now for 3 days, as a time limit, for 3 days you can fly. Things like that, you might be able to, but they will be super duper rare. Yeah. Only Metro mayors, castle owners, very lucky people who manage to drop egg. Yeah, so Ludaloo, basically, I hadn't even read yours, but we were saying the same thing. So yeah, cool. Can't wait for the Care Bears to try their free caravan day to roll out with the Vira guilds on the same server. Look. We weren't doing it for Care Bear reasons, okay? I was one of those people that was a part of the Care Bear day, quote unquote. But we were doing it for node reasons so that we can get more of the nodes leveled up so we could actually progress more of the crafting and then test more of the crafting, things like that. My baby leaves me after 3 days, only if it's a flying one and if it's a limited one, yes. But you can get gliding ones. So you can't really fly, but you can glide down from higher areas. So the introduction of, let me go back over here. The introduction of our second starting area in the anvils and a revamp of our questing and first-time user experience systems. In my opinion, right here, these needed to happen. Honestly. Hello, Vertec. Yeah, I was thinking it was more of a delay of what they consider shows them to claim they reached phase 3, but they're still going to be working on a ton of stuff and allowing in the P3 purchases to enter on May 1st. Yeah, so you're still going to have access to everything that you are promised to have access, like when you were promised to have access to it. It's just the official phase 3. I don't know why I'm doing phase 3 bunny ears, begins August 4th, as shown down here. I have not seen the map yet. But yes, so this revamp of questing and the first time user experience, I think that is highly important. There's a lot of people that don't know a lot of things. Like there are people that somehow made it to like 15, 20 who didn't know how to get a horse from the starting area. That was interesting to find out. And there's a lot of other instances of things like that, right? Where there's just for those of us who have been testing, it's extremely easy to figure out like where to go, what to do. But if you've never entered into this game at all and you've never tested or seen us test the beginning parts of this game, you're not gonna be, it's not as intuitive as I would like it to be. I wish I could go back in time and pay an extra Benji so I could get PTR. Oh man. Vertex says no 24/7 servers though. Yeah, it gives me a sad face, but I'm happy they'll have extra days to work on development instead of heavy focus on life service issues. Exactly. They didn't find the horse because me and Porcini were handing out wolves and bears. Fair. Fair. But I'm really excited to see what this anvils, the second starting area. So I love this. So what this means, if you guys don't understand this, so right now Lionhold / Samia's Hope are one starting area. The anvils will be a second starting area. When this game is out and live, there will be a I think five starting areas you can start from, and that's to help with like spreading people out. You can choose it. I think at one point it was intended on being racial only, where like the elves started in one area, the dwarves started in another, but then they changed it so you can start from anywhere, especially if you're a Tolnar. So that means that we're getting a second starting area known as the Anvils. And I think if memory serves, that's the area. Actually, I don't know. I think that's the mountainous area because I believe that Jundark is south of New Ayla. Nuclear Tango. Cheers. Thank you for the sub. Appreciate it. Wow. 19 months. Nice. Hey, Peoria. Welcome in, Peoria. But yes, so that's going to be nice to have a second starting area, which means not everybody's fighting over Lionhold, etc. Yeah, I forgot where the anvils are. We'll look at that later. But that's really exciting. I love that there's going to be more options and more division in the player base to have a starting space. So it's not overly cramped the way it was at the beginning. North of the tropics, that's where I'm thinking. Yeah, okay. They're speculated to be far northwest. Thank you, Setsuma. I appreciate that. Ongoing server worker and realm performance improvements, helping us lay stronger foundation for scalability. Love this. That is something that they definitely need to work on, because when you have a node war and you can only see half the people, it's a little bit hard to make sure that you are planning properly with your node war, making the right calls, etc. Same with the node sieges. When I was testing node sieges, I couldn't tell after a certain distance, especially as a person on a flying mount. There are no nameplates. I couldn't tell who was my group and who was the other group until I got close enough where I'm pretty sure that they could have targeted me. And then I just saw all red names and realized it was my people that died. So yeah, excited to see more of that coming out. And yes, I believe the anvils, I believe you are correct, Esteban, that is where the dwarves are. And hopefully we will see some Nikuin dwarves as well with some of those harbors. So very excited for that. And as I was mentioning earlier, they are transitioning to Unreal Engine 5.5. The rumors are true that I've heard. And the improvements and tools that they're talking about and development flexibility. Here, let me just swap over this. I was looking up what is the major changes with 5.5, and they've got, I'm going to read it over here because it's a little easier to see, but performance enhancements, hardware tracing gains speed and efficiency with Lumen now capable of running at 60 FPS on platforms with hardware support. Then there's Path Tracer offering fully feature reliable rendering tools, Lumen improvements, right? Things like this. So these are going to, like, that all tells me that is optimization to make things run smoother, especially on some of these older systems. And Ashes needs all the optimization help that it can get, in my opinion. Not saying anything wrong about it. Obviously, it's a game in development, but we've known about the memory leaks. We've known about a few of these other issues, and anything that Unreal Engine can do to help optimize ray tracing, Lumen, etc., the better it's going to be for Ashes. Whoops, I did not mean to move that. So very exciting things coming for that. Let me catch up over here. So hyped for that. Flyers are disabled for node sieges now too. All mounts are, which I really like. Okay, good to know. Welcome in, Stealth POV. How's it going? I ordered new RAM today and it came nice. Oh, nice. Love it. Love a good RAM update. For a lot of you guys, if you're newer to computers, a lot of newer games, they actually need something called VRAM on your graphics card, which is virtual RAM. And I think you need at least 12 gigs on those, which a lot of the newer graphics cards do come with. But that was actually the issue that Vertec and I were running into, because we were trying to stream, like, what was it? The Hogwarts Legacy games and other games similar that were just as graphical heavy, and it was struggling. Nice. I got an 8 GB now, getting 12 GB. Perfect. Yep. GPU en route. Woot, nice. How fun would it be if the anvils were on the other continent and every new map expansion afterwards brought the two closer to being able to run trade routes between them? I think that'd be awesome, actually. I think that'd be really, really cool. I'd love to see that. Welcome in. You know what? Better late than never, Duffels. Better late than never. Happy to have you here. But yeah. Honestly, Vertec and I, when we started streaming, I had a 1080 and we only recently upgraded. So yeah. Yep. But going back to this, significant economy and stat balancing efforts over the next 3 months in preparation for a solid phase 3 start. I did see that they were looking for an economy, like an in-game economy person, either like a designer or an engineer to fill a role. So perhaps that's a signal that they found the right person to help with fixing all of that, especially the stat balancing. I mean, you guys discussed it a little bit, but yes. And then finally, the introduction of Pyrite, Renkai, and Nikuin races with all the armor sets along with our last archetype, the Summoner. And I don't know when these are going to be given to us, right? Are we going to see Pyrite and Renkai at the beginning? Are we going to see them as we go through? Honestly, if we say it at the beginning, if they're pulling Lyneth into Vira, I'm losing my character anyway, I'm going to assume. So may as well just make it a Pyrite at that point and play around with how my Pyrite should look. And the most important thing is, and this is something that, the characters don't go away. Well, I'm going to have to re-roll it anyway. I got to play with the Pyrite. But well, maybe for one of the Monday Maid quests, I'll do a Pyrite character thing if we get Pyrite. But this right here. So one thing that our community, yes, we're going to be twins, Basil. One thing our community has said time and again is, Intrepid, please take the time that you need. You know, make sure that you take the time needed to make the game good instead of rushing to meet like certain deadlines. And I think that if this additional time, especially because I knowing as a developer, the time it takes to go from version to another version can take a bit of time. There's often things that go through with things that break between the versions. So between 5.0 and 5.5, I'm assuming they're on 5.0. I don't know what version they're exactly on, but I'm assuming that there's going to be iterations and changes that need to go in with that, because when I work within my own development cycles, there's often things that I have to go back through and audit and fix because the version change broke them. So that's going to take time a little bit. But I love that they are outlining, hey, this time will result in smoother and more robust experience going into phase 3. Like, we aren't where we want it to be yet, but this will make sure that we have it where we want it to be for you guys when we enter into phase 3. And I love that transparency from Intrepid. Brody says, I think all characters are being saved. Yes, I believe you guys are correct. I did not hear that part of it. So I assumed a wipe because that's how I imagine servers being merged. I'd imagine new races and archetype will come later, somewhere in July. Womp womps. Well, who knows? Maybe we'll do a July stream of that. So phase 3, Alpha 2 phase 3 begins August 4th. So following the conclusion of phase 2, Alpha 2 phase 3 will begin on August 4th. In this next phase, we'll continue testing and iterating on core systems, add new content, implement performance enhancements as we work towards refining the full alpha experience. And the hope is by the end of phase 3, by the time they're done with phase 3, in my mind, it's like when you're taxiing to land, you're focusing and you're making the aircraft prepare so it's in line with the roadway or the landing strip. End of Alpha 2 phase 3 should be in line, so that way when we go into beta, it's a smooth transition and it's much more playable. I don't know how much time is going to be between end of phase 3 and beginning of beta, but I do imagine there's going to be some time that's needed there because they're going to be adding a lot of content in. Right now, they're withholding a lot of the content from us, especially things that have spoilers in them. And it's just the bare minimum content to test the stuff that's needed without spoiling the excitement of the game. What I do hope to eventually see by the end of phase 3, though, are these dynamic nodes, these abilities for you to put down your freehold somewhere, etc. So I'm going to continue reading just in case, because I'm pretty far up the page here still. But those are what I'm hoping to see out of phase 3 by the end of phase 3, whenever that is. So, testing access. All users with Alpha 2 access will be able to participate in Phase 3. This includes Alpha 2 Kickstarter pre-order backers and Alpha 2 first and second wave bundle holders, as well as Alpha 2 third wave bundle holders, who will now gain access to the extended Phase 2 period beginning May 1st as well. Yes, I also cannot wait for taverns. For those of you that don't know, I mean, part of Vertex and my favorite thing with having the Golden Feather Tavern was our hope to have an in-game tavern, one for your ability to sleep, because if you sleep in a tavern, you're going to get that rested XP. And we already know that there's not going to be enough housing for everybody. So if we could be one of the taverns that you come by and you make it your residence, I would love to have that. That'd be awesome. And the second version of our tavern will be more food buff based, and that'll be a good place to grab your food. I like to do potions, so Vertex is probably going to be cooking. I'm going to do alchemy. So you'll have food and potions in one tavern, and you'll know where to find us. But so the testing schedule, basically they're saying, as many of you said in chat, that they are doing 5+ days per week, as they currently are. Alchemy and cooking, silly. I'm a complete changeover. What does that mean? Oh, like you're going over to, got it. Starting August 4th is when they will do the 24/7. It's a Fupo. Hums Oblivion theme song. Oh wait, this is AOC. Oops. I love that. I was totally like singing that in my head. Sorry. I just got a cookie from this Fupo. Fupo's a trustworthy person to get a cookie from. Make sure you give Fupo head pats and many snacks. Hello, Hubsy. Welcome in. So, meet me at the Golden Feather as much as I can. Nice. Yes. Let's go. During the extended phase 2 period, we will have intermittent periods of full week testing where our servers are kept live throughout the extended periods. And I think that that's important because not only does this allow them, let me see what happens if I click this. There we go. Not only does this allow them to test their servers before entering into phase 3 fully to make sure that it can handle that, especially with letting in the phase 3 bundle key holder people, player groups. There we go. Words. Not only does bringing them into the way that we currently have phase 2 is already helpful in the way that seeing how the servers handle everything the way it is currently, but on top of that, making sure that it handles things on a 7-day like per week basis. For example, over the holidays, the last couple of times they've left the servers up, we've noticed by like day 3 or 4, we needed to have them be restarted because things were literally getting very sluggish and you could feel it across the server. So I'm curious to see what changes they've made by this point when they do the next 7-day test and how that feels. Lethal, hello, says, it's crazy how an alpha is, even at this stage, able to make you feel like everything you do has some value to it within the game itself. And yes, I agree. And that's one of my favorite things about Ashes of Creation. I love how everything feels so meaningful. Like if you make crafts as your main thing that you want to do, people need that. And my headset just turned off for no reason. Hold on. Or if you want to go out and do raiding things. One thing I wanted to comment on listening to Vertec and Lloyd conversation about crafting was I'd love to see raiders be able to go out to Carfin, go out to Befallen Forge and collect materials that when brought back to the crafters, that is what augmented the gear that they were making. Every greatsword might need 5 iron ingots and 1 specific plank, maybe, and then this other material. But that third material is something that you could get from Carfin to give you that lifesteal, or to get from Befallen Forge to get that fire resistance. And like that last thing that, like, depending on the material that you slot in, depends on what type of greatsword feature you output. And I think that is really neat. And I'm hoping that that's the direction they're going from what I remember of how they showed things previously. But I'm curious to see if that's still the case. All right, let me catch up on some of what you guys are saying. So they're not going to have daily restarts on the servers. I actually don't know about that. Let me close out of this and see if they added... We're not currently announcing an end date for Alpha 2, as it is expected to last until the start of Beta, when it will become the new PTR. We'll share additional details on our long-term goals and timelines as we move closer to that date. So, I don't know. Probably still going to want the restarts, but let's see. Personally, from Fupo says, personally, I am excited for the next 3 months and them concentrating on the things they have outlined. That with the TTK and gearing changes and getting dynamic gridding is going to make things so much better for the period and with what will be coming out after that. And I agree. I think that's a good summarization. A player-run tavern sounds fun. Some of my best memories in Ultima Online were PvPing at Silk's Tavern or being a bouncer at Kazola's Treetop Keg and Winery. Well, Hivsy, if you want to be a bouncer over at the Golden Feather Tavern, you just let me know. Our tavern is aiming to be a neutral ground, a no man's land, if you will, where we won't accept any shenanigans there. Daily restarts will probably be a thing forever. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm assuming that by doing it out of prime time for gamers, like especially at 5 o'clock in the morning for those of us Eastern time, it's at a good part for it's at a good point for people to be primarily offline, except for some of our friends who are no-lifers who love to be playing until 5 o'clock in the morning or later. I'm just keen for a fresh start so I can grind up a new character with all the changes that I've missed. It'll be a whole new game. Right, exactly, Sinflow. New races, summoner, starting area, revamp of starting quest. It's all good stuff. It really is. It really is. I hope they managed to get the dynamic grid earlier in the period rather than later. Yeah, I think a lot of people are looking forward to seeing dynamic gridding put in and working efficiently or effectively. And I personally would like to see it in action, or like at least be shown like this is it in action. You may not have noticed though, which is great because some of the features that are non-noticeable can be some of the best. Like a UI, right? I don't want to have to notice my UI. I want my UI to feel natural and as a part of it and enhance it. Sometimes if you can notice the UI, that probably means it's either too distracting or it's not helpful enough. I'm mostly looking forward to the starting and quest revamp. Yep, same. Data set for the fresh start is going to be great. I agree. TGF is Penvious Hangout. No business to be conducted on the Golden Feather Grounds is consecrated. Yes, it is. You're welcome. And my bad needed. There are no bad questions. Yeah, exactly. No bad questions. But I'll throw on my maid outfit and come clean the tavern after I give y'all some fruit and vegetables. Love it. Thanks. We'll need the help, all the help we can get. So, obviously, they have their how to do bugs and then their thank you thing. So the last bit of this is I wanna try and roleplay read this. Let me just bring this over here. A new dawn rises over Vera, and with it, a challenge worthy of legends. As two realms merge into one, the battlefield resets, the nodes lie unclaimed, and the world holds its breath. This is your moment to carve your name into the stone of the final moments of Phase 2. Bring your hard-earned strength, your forged steel, and your sharpened will, for what lies ahead is a thunderdome of ambition, alliance, and unrelenting conquest. The path to Phase 3 begins here, and only the bold shall shape the future. Glory is calling. To support meaningful testing and gather accurate data from our latest updates, we will perform a full wipe of all characters and progression at the start of Phase 3 on August 4th, 2025. This ensures that testing reflects the latest systems, balance changes, and optimizations. In preparation for Phase 3, beginning on May 1st, we will be merging the Lyneth and Vire realms to test our realm merge system, which is also important for in the future if one of the realms end up dying. We need to know that when we go to merge two realms together, it will be done correctly. And Brody, I hope you enjoyed that. Brody says, the Steven RP never gets old. But yes, I think that is important. It's an important system for them to test. And what better way to test it than now? As part of this process, certain systems, including nodes, mayorships, freeholds, vehicles, cargo, and others will be reset. All items on your character and in your inventory will be retained after the merge. All warehouse items will also be maintained in their respective node locations, and players will have access to those items when the node reaches level 1. In addition, if you have items held within your citizenship warehouse, you may regain access to those items if you become a citizen of that node again. Your character level, experience, skill trees, and weapon/artisan progression will be preserved, and the realm max character limit will be updated to 10. So those of you that said, hey, they're adding rogue, and later they're adding summoner, but there's only, six options, like 6 characters that I can have? Well, now you can have 10. So awesome. Character names that are in conflict will be suffixed with Veer and Lynn, and I'm gonna know right now. I'm telling y'all right now. If I see Lynn after my name, somebody's pretending to be me over on Vira. I'm just gonna say it. I put stuff in the Java bank for testing. Merge it. Nice. I'm about to beat the game right now, Fupo. Be jealous. Wait, which game? Oh, Oblivion. Additionally, for those who prefer a clean slate, a fresh start realm will be available on May 1st, offering a completely untouched experience. And, just a call out to check the Alpha 2 news channel on Discord. So with that, how are you guys feeling about these changes? Do you like these changes? Do you not like these changes? Wizard says 100 gold freehold gone and didn't even get to test it. Aw. Right. Did they ever unlock the capabilities of those freeholds, or are they still locked? If you get Lynn, we know we gotta slap on our PvP boots. Right. And I mean, this begs the question, how many people will be joining this fresh start server versus how many people are going to be participating still in the realm merge, right? I feel like I might get on my Chibi character just to make sure that I do my end of bug testing, but I'm not entirely sure if I'm interested in a merge. It's one of those things where I'm also currently not really testing that much. As we have a Captain Hook ship flying through the air on stream. But everyone, Eric says, everyone I know is going fresh. Old merge server will be dead. I have a feeling. Oh, we have a Battle of the Hill. I shall join this fight. I must have Chibi Cleric and Vertec Bard if I'm going to power through Rogue. Well, Well, we'll see. I think Vertec is interested in doing the oh look, there's the floating hill for the ship to land on. I didn't move that. I'm sorry. I just changed us over to the big screen. But Vertec is intending on kind of going semi-hardcore at the beginning of May. Vertex says, I'm going to be prioritizing Fresh Start, but maybe popping onto the merge realm to play around with some peoples to stay hanging out there. Yeah, exactly. We getting tank changes soon too. Yeah, fingers crossed on that. I think Vertex really wants that. But yeah. Sorry, I got distracted by something. Nice. Who is that? Welcome in, Jamba. Who won? Ludaloo. Ludaloo's the winner. Huzzah. And there's Vertec hiding behind the hill with the teapot. But yes. I'm interested in trying out the cleric. I definitely want to do a pirate cleric if I can. But also, like, one thing I'm curious about, because they didn't really mention, at least in this one, if anybody has, especially those of you on Discord, if anybody has a link to what is mentioned on what they're going to be sustaining through this extended phase 2 as new things coming out, i.e. secondary archetypes, I would like to know. Although I think secondary archetypes might still be slated for phase 3 officially in August. But I would really like to know what secondary archetypes feel like. Just listening, getting ready to drive home. Well, I hope you have a safe drive, Jamba. And thank you so much for the lurk. I hope you enjoy the podcast. To note, Steven also confirmed that they're trying to push the gatherable spawn rarities to this fresh start. Okay, that's good to know too, because that is especially important to me. I really want to test the gathering system, so I may not go hardcore personally in this fresh start. I think if I do go into it, then it's going to be one of those things where it's going to be more on the crafting gathering side, so I can play with the gatherable systems that they've implemented and are going to continue implementing, and kind of be able to see how that changed and how that feels for myself, because that is stuff that matters more to me as a PvE focused player. By that I mean I'm not afraid to do PvP. I will absolutely join into PvP when I feel comfortable doing so, but it is not my priority, is not my focus. Devil says, today's PTR patch note seemed interesting. I'm hoping for crafting changes come Thursday, but I'm down for anything. Well, they should be coming for Thursday. They definitely did have it slated for the April 24th update, at least at the beginning. So fingers crossed on that. But let's see. Seatsuma said that. Erwin says this is a thing that has to be, otherwise the data set will be skewed. I agree with that. Erwin also says I'll try a rogue cleric if that's what we get, especially like the secondaries. I'm really curious to see what cleric feels like and bard cleric feels like. So those are two things that I'm hoping to level up to test out a little bit. But I'm curious to see how the secondaries feel once they are implemented as well. I want to know what adjustments exactly does the secondary augment have on your primary class? That's what I'm curious to test out. And if I do a bard cleric, do I feel like by being a bard cleric, do I feel like I'm actually healing more than being a bard? Or do I feel like maybe I'm getting more self-healing from them? Because they did mention that anybody with a secondary cleric outside of cleric will have more self-sustain capabilities rather than, healing other people necessarily. And I'm curious the same about like tank, right? If the tank does their ability where they shield you, does that also give you a little bit of a healing? I'm curious. I'm really curious. Let's see. I'm going to try all secondaries for Summoner main. Yeah, definitely. That's an important thing to try out. And by the way, welcome in, Oracle. I think that having more of the secondaries will be interesting. Although I think that, like, we had this conversation recently about how, you know, tank primaries and cleric primaries will feel like they have less room for playing around when it comes to a secondary, especially if tank is the best tank, cleric is the best healer, you know. So, they does have to have the gatherable spawn randomized by fresh start. Otherwise, the economy will be wonky from the starts. Yeah, exactly, Sinflow. And honestly, I feel like them kind of dialing in on these stat changes, TTK, things like that. I think that's all necessary. And a welcome in. Thank you so much for the follow. Welcome to the tavern. Cheers. I feel like these stat changes and things like that need to be dialed in before they do a full wipe, in my opinion. But I'm really curious to see, how does the fresh start handle everything compared to the merge server. You're looking forward to tank. Very nice. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Vertec actually is also looking forward to doing tank, and I believe tank cleric to see how that feels too. Me doing cleric tank, not so interested. I already pull aggro healing. Sinflow says, I'm hoping cleric gets over heals, but that's just a pipe dream. I think Steven mentioned something about overhealing previously as well, where there was like a specific color of a line that showed up when you overhealed. So it kind of shows you that you're overhealing. So I don't think that's quite out of the realm of possibilities. I've definitely heard it before somewhere. And Fupo with the tank love. But my favorite things I'm looking forward to are seeing like the rogue secondaries, the bard secondaries, because my overall goal by the end of Alpha 2 is to test all cleric primaries with the secondaries, minus the tank. I'm not sure I'm gonna want to really do the tank for myself personally, but I might go through it just to have it as an option so that maybe I can make a video of my opinions on the differences between them, etc. Cleric overhealing being turned into temporary life would be epic. Yeah, absolutely. I think that would be as well. I really love it when there's like a shield that you have to burn through or temporary hit points that you have to go through. That's one of my favorite parts with TTRPGs, right? You give somebody temporary hit points, and then, you know, when they take kind of a heavier hit, it eats through those temporary hit points first before getting to them. So I kind of hope, since this is all fashioned after Pathfinder, in terms of Steven's homebrew campaign for Pathfinder's TTRPG system, I really do hope that there is like temporary hit points or something like that. Hoovzy says, I hope High Priest get an AoE res or res with no CD. I would love that, Hoovzy. Additionally, I would love it to be able to move and do my res again, because I'm pretty sure, I don't know, Sitsuma, maybe you can correct me. I don't know who else has done cleric. I was pretty sure at one point you could move and cast revive at the same time. But currently, if you do that, it ruins the res. Like it will completely break it. Like the sound effect, the visual effect will go off, but they won't actually revive. Excuse me. The master says, I'm assuming the mitigation and some of our shields will be higher for tanks, and I'm hoping for that as well, especially for tank's sake. I just mean, since I know you have some hardcore healers in your guild is all. This next week, I'm going to be playing with a few people to trade my resources to a Vira guild. I want to give a good nest egg for the merge. Aw, that's very nice of you, Oracle. Sinflow says, has there been any mention of UI changes that help distinguish your group in a raid when you're in a large scale battle? Not that I have heard about yet, but that is a great feature to suggest on the forums or Reddit if you wish. But I believe they primarily take on the forums in terms of this information. And I think that any sort of UI, like wish list items, especially something like that where there's these large scale raids, would be helpful, right? Because that's something that's a little bit difficult. If I don't know where my party is specifically, I just kind of go based off of which names are lit up on my little UI and run in a direction until I see them light up. And then I'm like, oh, here you are. Either that or I cast the flare heal and I watch where that goes and I follow the flare. Not sure 90 days will be enough for a fresh server to level 13 nodes to level 3 so we can get all JM stations. Took long enough just to get to 5 nodes leveled. So technically on Lineth, we have already had our node pretty much like level 3 across the world, if you will, by I want to say end of February, beginning to mid-March. And here we are end of April, like mid to end April, right? So the phase 2 started when? End of December. So January, February, March. I think 90 days is absolutely capable. It just depends on the people in your server. And I mean, recently Vira was able to get theirs up. And that's what people were like making fun of Lineth for having this Care Bear day. But we were able to get all 3 desert nodes to level 3 just fine after that. So it's about how your server chooses to do things. We chose to prioritize node levels and things like that over, you know, whatever each mayor wanted, I guess. Also, we also have 14 nodes, not counting Gendark nodes, so we won't necessarily need all nodes at level 3 for Journeyman. Node levels are over pretty quarrels. Petty. I read pretty quarrels. Petty quarrels. We just did Jinnah in less than 3 days. Wow, that's pretty crazy. But that shows you like what determination would look like. And once they add in that secondary starting zone, that's going to make it easier because you're not running from Lionhold all the way up to this other secondary starting zone, right? You have people that are in Lionhold spreading out. You have people up here spreading out. And now you've got a lot more people leveling in different areas a little faster. Our mayors wanted to break the game and control the economy. Very fair. But yeah, honestly, I feel like 90 days is doable depending on how hard the player base goes. But there is something to be said about the lull in the player base, right? I've heard people having conversations of, I mean, we're seeing in our guild, we're seeing in other guilds across at least Lineth, but across people with this pushback of phase 3, you know, there's a lot of people taking breaks right now. I'm personally not as invested as I was at the beginning of phase 2, but I'm still interested. I don't know. I'm prioritizing going out and doing things like touching grass, apparently, or like screaming the entire time Vertec has me ride a roller coaster. But I'm also waiting for more substantial changes to come in that I'm specifically looking for, aka this April 24th change that I can then focus my time and energy on and test it and see how I feel about it. Which I'm actually kind of curious because the rest of that adjustment is coming like what, May 10th, I believe I heard. So yeah. Yes, we were going out and touching butterbeer. Exactly. All the butterbeer. I actually got a shirt that says I'm just here for the butterbeer. And I intended to wear it for Tavern Talk, but I already wore it, I think, on Saturday. Remove the butter, leave the bread. No, butterbeer is too good to remove the butter. It is too good to remove the butter part. I love that, you know, oh, okay, for you. Okay, cool. As long as we have that out of the way. Oracle says, plus for the merge server, you'll have access to your player progress. So you can gather tier 2 and tier 3 resources right away, right? Eric says we may get a ton of EU players also. If they don't get a EU fresh server, they may roll on US fresh. And I suppose we'll see what the ping feels like for that, right? Because a lot of EU players are, you know, in a server based in EU. But also keep in mind, whatever 5 a.m. Eastern time is for EU time, depending on where you are in the EU, that could be midday for you. It could be prime time gaming that the servers go down, albeit for like 10 to 15 minutes, but they still go down at like prime time for across the world from us, across the pond, as one might say. But yes, let me actually swap this back to the smaller one so we get more of your lovely comments on screen. But you know, they're going to reset things like nodes, mayorships, freeholds, vehicles, cargo, and things like that. And I think that I want to see where they go with the freeholds specifically. What adjustments are they making on the freeholds? Because I heard a little while back, maybe about a month or so, that they're planning on making adjustments to the freeholds specifically. And I'm curious to see what those adjustments are, as well as hopefully seeing if we can fix the cows giving you bluebells. And, you know, the ducks that you can't really pet. I didn't get to test it, but is the LH Redwall gone now that there's a port harbor right there? I don't know. I don't know if Linehold has... So when did they... I've been gone this last weekend, so I apologize. But when did they implement the harbor in Linehold? Was it this last weekend? Okay, on PTR. I don't know. I did not get a chance to test PTR myself. So fingers crossed. 4 to 5 new ports. I love it because we were just talking recently about being able to drive your ship all the way around from the tropics to the desert. But who knows what kind of crazy things lurk in the water beneath. Okay, very cool. PTR had a few ports added, as well as SS Gendark, so you can now sail all the way. Nice. There's now 7 total ports. Love it. Love to see it. Love to hear it. I heard something about doing a PTR server-wide test with the caravan system. So was very curious to see how that went, if anybody partook in that. How did it go? Was it smooth? I'm not really good at caravans. But I did notice it. One second. Okay, sorry. I thought my dog was growling at something. There's now 7 total ports. Showed a 5-finger Gendark node layout. 3 nodes now in tropics. Very nice. Very nice. I'm curious to see when they add in the different layouts of the different nodes. It went all right. Awesome. Glad to hear that, especially with them adding more and more to the world. Because, I mean, not only is there more landmass, but there's more data that has to be taken. There's more people in general. Like when you have these focus tests, people tend to hop on a little bit more to do these focus tests. I unfortunately was busy, so I did not get to go. But yeah, I'm really curious to see how it will feel with the phase 3 people as well. A little laggy. They dropped server performance to help, but then boosted it back up. Okay. To be expected, honestly. They put some stress on the realm on purpose during the test to try and simulate an active realm. That makes sense. Did Steven summon 5,000 bears again? Is that how they put stress on the server? Let me see here. PTR. Doop-a-doo. Alpha 2 news. Yeah. So, okay. Well, I'm not going to be able to open that because I don't have the right thing open, but curious to see what the PTR changes are. I continued my underwater adventures as I was able to shadow step on a mob and get under the world. Oh, that's very fun, Erwin. Did you, were you able to replicate that for a bug report? Ooh, okay. So the highlights for PTR test for 0.9, so this is what we should see on the 24th, is that Jundark is now available. This zone now includes new nodes, gatherables, recipes, rewards, pocket dungeons, enemies, treasure maps, events, and mounts, which I don't know about you, but to have all of that when you're first integrating a new area like Jundark, that to me feels like they are getting this new area online so much quicker than the last two. You know, we are still finally getting stuff into the tropics. We're still finally getting stuff into the desert. Like we just barely got the desert filled out. We just finally are getting the nodes for the tropics. And now we have the entire Jundark zone with nodes, gatherables, recipes, etc. Before I forget to say, I'm glad to see Beardless TV back again. Thanks. No, but I was able to grab my recorded file and get it over to Fupo in care of Planador. Very nice. Stepping up their game. I agree. And I think that this highlight of like the PTR change is a prime example of like what they're saying. You know, like these things that we are trying to work on will help us with iterating things more quickly in the future. And I think we're seeing that right now. I think that we are seeing this entire Jundark region basically have everything ready to go on day that they make it live. And I think that's awesome. I love to see it. Yes, the new starting area. Where did they put that? New nodes have been added to the Turquoise Sea. We have Seahook, Wind and Sea, and Shorefoot can now advance to node stage 3. Turquoise Sea buy orders and mayoral commissions have been added. New node commodities, Corin and Bine Barrel are part of the PvP lawless area. Curious. So does that mean that Seahook, Wind and Sea, and Shorefoot are not lawless? Or do they add Corinne and Brine Barrel as new nodes to the lawless? Like, did they expand the lawless? Or did they push that back from the nodes that could be level 3 now? Asking since I wasn't in there. My fox found a number of invisible swimming plateaus in the Jundark that I had to report, but the Jundark looks really good. Oh, I'm so excited. Vertex says you didn't like Chibi Lloyd. Citizen contributions toward node buildings have been updated so characters can now contribute multiple resources of a similar type. Love that. My question is, if anybody tested that part specifically, does that mean that if it needs bluebells and sea bass that I can just do multiple bluebells and not the sea bass, or do I still have to do both of them together? That's a question that I need to figure out for myself. That's a question that I have. Made several UI improvements to node menus. Tumok's patrol route has been adjusted to prevent him from getting stuck in some of the places in Riverlands. There's more node guards that will now use ranged attacks to hit targets that they can't hit with melee attacks. Oracle. Let's see. Eyes in the canopy event commissions. Okay, I'm not gonna read all that. It'd be great if you could add only one up to that items cap. Yes, that would be so nice because I don't always have sea bass, but I have a plethora of like flax, you know. Exactly. Then let somebody else complete the second item. And I get that it's intended to make trade, but I was actively trying to make trade and I wasn't, unless we came to an agreement of doing like 50-50, if I could find somebody in the first place, I wasn't able to do it. So that's the part that was a little bit difficult for me. Added material storage to freeholds. The open seas are now lawless PvP areas. Added 1 new harbor to the Riverlands, 2 new harbors at the Sand Squall Desert. The locations for these harbors have been added to the map. Made improvements on how characters and mounts render in high density situations. Love to hear that. Rogue archetype has been added to the party and raid menu so people can set the color for them. Nice. Map in turquoise sea shows the zone of influence for each node. Nice. Visual improvements to the coastal water near Shorefoot. Okay. Updated some icons. Okay. Characters will no longer be at war with the opposing node siege team until the preparation phase for the event begins. Mounts can no longer be summoned during active node sieges. I see that. You guys mentioned that earlier. Reduce lag caused by character ash loot piles. Oh, I didn't know that was causing lag, but that makes sense because your loot pile has like data on it. If you die a bunch, you're constantly losing materials, etc. Yeah. Same. Most of the Gendark was like that for me. Okay, good to know. I can't wait to see Gendark. I'm very much into like foresty things or beachy things. So it's either you'll find me in the forest or you'll find me on the beach. So Stonehold's Pocket Dungeon will now unlock when Sand Squall's end, or when Squall's End node reaches stage 1. Communion Pocket Dungeon will now unlock when Squall's End node reaches stage 2. Apothecarium for Digina node reaches stage 2. So it sounds like to me they added a bunch of precursors, both lower and higher, for these pocket nodes to actively open up. And for those of you that have seen them put these in and they're already open, and I know how it feels like, man, this world's not really alive. I guarantee you when they do the merge on May 1st, when they do the fresh start servers on May 1st, you will start to feel the world is alive with this system, because these precursors where, you know, once you reach stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, etc., that is when you're going to see them actively open when they weren't already open previously. And I feel like that will help with making the world feel more alive rather than just putting them in and they're already open. It's like, okay, well, they're open now, I guess. And I can totally see how that feels like the world's not reactive at all. I can totally understand that comment that I've heard throughout the community at that point. But I have a big feeling that with this node resetting, either with the merge or the fresh start, you will start to feel how it's more reactive to you, and it'll feel better, in my opinion. And on top of that, I do hope that they do some more interesting stuff with the pocket dungeons, as they call them. I hope that there's more interesting armor or things that you can get from them. I think that it will encourage people to go into those spaces, but I also hope that it allows for either new, more difficult areas to explore or new lower level areas to explore. Because one of the things that I saw with going out to the desert is, as a lower level, it was kind of difficult to survive going through the desert unless you had a certain level character. But if these are meant to be homes for lower level characters, like level 10s, then I feel like they should have spaces out in the desert, out in the tropics, out in the Gendark, to be able to do these like lower level grinding spots. That's my hope, at least. But we'll see. We'll see. All in all, I am really excited to see these changes coming in the 0.9 release later this week, for April 24th. And on top of that, I think that they are moving in the right direction. I respect them for explaining why they are looking to have more time, and that reassurance of, hey, this is intended so that we can go into phase 3 with the best possible foot forward, making sure that everything is smooth, making sure that everything is working in the way that we would want it to work, so that we're not focusing on these systems working, but more so focused on player captivation, right? Keeping you coming back to keep testing, making sure that they are able to nail that down through like the initial player experience, the questing, things like that. I think these are all very important things to address. I love that they're still going ahead to bring in phase 3 key holders and backers in May. I love that call personally. And yes, I agree. Muscle is also welcome in. They are definitely cooking. They're putting in some really solid effort. I'm seeing it. I mean, the fact that they're releasing an entire zone fully ready for testing, unlike the desert and unlike the tropics. I think that they're doing that really well. And it's showing how those test integrations, I'm going to call them, allowed them to integrate Gendark in a much faster pace. And I just can't wait to see what 5.5 does for the optimization of the game. I can't wait to see how much more fluid everything feels. And yeah, exactly. Tropics released and the Gendark adding multiple harbors so that you can dock anywhere between the Tropics, Lion's Hold, Sand Squall, etc. So I'm really, really excited. Really looking forward to this. And thank you guys for sharing your thoughts with me. I don't really have anything else to talk about unless you would just want to hear me ramble forever. But let me know if you are looking forward to doing Fresh Start, if you're looking to test on the merge server, or maybe you're waiting until August. Ramble on. Well, if you want to give me some topics, I'd be happy to ramble on. But yeah, if you're waiting until August to join, you know, why are you waiting? What is the thing that you're looking for that you want to wait for? And if it's a polished game, that completely makes sense. You know, after they get the archetypes out, or the like summoner, and the races out for the Renkai, Pyrite, and the Nikua. I think that is a very solid point in waiting for, and I would probably wait for that too. But I'm already in the game, so I want to do some testing a little bit. Nikua tank there. Nice. I will be rolling as a secondary a Nikua rogue. So I have to wait for Nikua to come out for that. But I'm thinking of doing a fun chill stream at some point where we all get together and I hang out in the character creator and we make our Pyre and we make our Nikua and, you know, have fun together. Because I want to talk about the character creator. Really can't wait to play for Fresh Start. Yep. Alrighty, well, let me see if there's anybody else who is on within the Ashes. Of course, there's a Dusty. Dusty is also talking currently about the Fresh Start and everything. So I'm pretty sure Vertec already rated Dusty previously, but I'm really excited to hear his thoughts as well. RP events. Are you asking if we're planning any or if I know of any? I will keep my eye out or my ears out for roleplay. I did see a announcement recently from Sisuma. I did see an announcement coming from Desrevis about roleplay events within the community. So we'll have to circle back on that and see what you what they say, so I can give you better information. Besides, I've heard rumors about it, but if you're asking about my Nikua thing, my Nikua thing is more of a YouTube special thing that I want to work on a little bit more. Will races have benefits, or is it strictly storyline? The benefit of races are that you can influence the world around you if you are the predominant race. So let's say you're in Vyra and you're sitting in Miraleth, and you're on Lineth and you're sitting in Miraleth. Vira's Miraleth might be Renkai because most of the people that contributed to Miraleth on Vira were Renkai based, while Lyneth's version could be Pyre because most of the people that contributed to Lyneth's Miraleth were Pyre. And so it adjusts that so that you have a different version of that city that matches that primary racial augment. But outside of that, I don't think that they're going to have any special or unique capabilities. But yeah, if you can't answer here, that is fine. I can't answer you because I don't know the answer to that question, but I will figure it out and let you know later, Oracle. I may be a web developer, but I'm not in charge of that. But, all in all, I'm excited to hear more about community curated events and things like that. I kind of want to put one together myself. I'm just trying to think of the best way to do it. And I want to make sure it's fun and enjoyable by all that participate. And I also am trying to aim at like targeting each of the player style types. So, you know, gatherers, PvPers, etc. But in the meantime, thank you guys so very, very much for joining me. I will send you over to Dusty, who's also discussing all of the fresh start stuff. And perhaps maybe you will hear his insights on all of these changes. So thank you so much, Lulu. Thank you guys so much for joining me. It was really awesome having you here. And I loved chatting about all of this with you. And you could have been, you know, already listening to Dusty or, you know, having your own conversation about what's going to happen for phase 2 and 3. But instead, you decided to join me here at the tavern with our drinks and our chats. And we appreciate you for that. And I look forward to doing it more. In the meantime, have a great night and stay hydrated. We'll see you soon. Bye.